Welcome back to The Avenue, the channel where we talk about real life, building real wealth, and real money. And you will be glad that you tuned in today. Today, we're going to give some just basic foundational things for those that are in their 20s, 30s, and 40s for building wealth. You don't want to miss this one, so gather your children around, maybe your grandchildren around, so that they can listen and hear really what it takes to build real wealth at a very early age on up. Even if you want to retire at 50, 55, 45, if you do these things early enough, you have a great chance at retiring that early and not having to go back to work for the rest of your life. So stay tuned for this one.
She's a go-getter, alright. What a beautiful sight. Anything she sets her mind to, she stays on it day and night. She writes the checks, she signs the deeds. She plants the fruitful seeds and still finds the time to meet all her family needs.
Okay, let's just have a little chat. And let's be honest, what works at age 45 or 55 does not work at age 20 or 25. There are things that you need to do differently the younger you are, and things that you need to do differently the older you get. But I can say that the sooner you start, the earlier you start, the easier it will be on you, and it may not take as much of effort, it may not take as much money putting in every month as it would if you get a late start. Now, if you get a late start, you can still put money in and gain money and become wealthy. But just think, you guys, I was telling my sister the other day, if I knew what I knew now in my 20s, things would be a whole lot different, right? But we know that until the student is ready, the teacher does not appear. So you're young, you want to do some things in your 20s, but hear me clearly, listen well, and take in some of the things that I'm telling you, because your favorite friend in your 20s even will be discipline. What you need to be learning in your 20s is how money works. You need to be learning about debt. You need to be learning about credit. You need to be learning about savings, investing, all of the basics, a budget. This is what you need to learn in your 20s. And I know it's not popular, it's not sexy. Everybody around you in your 20s, they're not doing that. But if you do things differently in your 20s, you will end up differently in your 40s, 50s, and 60s. So just take a little time, just do a few things differently in your 20s when it comes to your finances. But like I said, discipline will be your best friend in your 20s. So basic information, learn about the flow of money. You have income coming in, and you should be striving to make as much money, make good of an impression at your job as you possibly can to get the highest raises that you possibly can. These are the years that you can go hard at it. You can have a couple of jobs if you want it. I know when I was younger, I used to have multiple jobs. I'd have a 9 to 5, then I work a few hours on the weekend doing other things. But it was about getting the money in. I had the health and the strength and the time, because I wasn't burdened down with anything. So I had the time to do whatever I wanted to. I didn't necessarily have a house payment. Some in my early 20s, I still lived with my parents until I moved out. But then it was into an apartment for just a brief amount of time. But still, I didn't have these huge responsibilities on me. When you start getting later on in life, getting married, having children, having a house payment, maybe a car payment, then you have responsibilities on you, and it changes things for you. But when you are young and don't have a lot on you, now is the time to start investing as much as you possibly can. At least get into the flow of things. If you can invest 10% of your income a month, that would be great. Or pick a number, $100 a month, put it into an investment account, and let it grow for you, because time on your side, when you're 20 years old, 25 years old, if you got 30 years to invest, it can be millions of dollars, okay? Not just 1 million, but millions with an S of dollars if you invest it on a consistent basis. Be disciplined with your investment. Also, learn about debt. When you go to college, they want to give you all these credit cards, but they don't teach you how to handle the credit cards, how to work. You don't want to be overwhelmed in debt and monthly payments on cars and this type of thing. You want to be somewhat free of debt so you can have the extra money to do some other things that you want to do with. So learn about debt, learn how to handle the credit cards, Learn about savings. Open up a savings account. Start saving for various things. Saving for a car, saving for one day to buy a house, saving to get married, whatever you want to save for. In your 20s is a great time to start savings, and it's not too early to start doing any of these things. The one thing that I can say about youth is that you can make a few mistakes and recover from them. Very recoverable in your 20s and in your 30s. Once you get in your 40s and 50s, it's hard to recover from a huge mistake. So you can, make a mistake on a few things pertaining to money and still be okay because you're so early in the game and you have a lot of opportunity, a lot of years ahead of you. Time is on your side. So in your 20s, learn about money and then be disciplined with the things that you feel like this is what I want to do. This is the way I want to go. And it doesn't have to be a huge amount, but do something. Just get started in your 20s. Get started as soon as possible. What if Ladies' Night wasn't just fun, but it left you feeling financially empowered? Introducing my financial therapy card deck, a simple, engaging way to spark real conversation about money, mindset, and your financial future. Perfect for girls' night in, social clubs, retreats, and women's events. Wherever women gather, meaningful conversations follow. So gather your girlfriends and discover what money conversations can really do for your future. Empower your money, empower your life. I have the questions you need to answer. Order your deck today and make your next ladies' night unforgettable.
Now they look at her like, and they all want to know why she just keeps winning.
Let's move to your 30s. In your 30s, you all, it's a whole different life stage. And either you're building wealth on a very rapid way, or you're buried in debt. That's what most people in their 30s find. And the decisions that you make in your 30s have consequences. If you decide to get married, if you decide to buy a house, if you decide to start having children, all of those are going to come with consequences. But in your 30s, what you're earning should be a lot higher. So you can ramp it up as far as investing, especially if you're single. I have, the single people out there. You should be putting money away as much as possible in your 30s and getting out of debt. If you're in debt, you have to have some type of debt reduction and get rid of the debt strategy so you can get out of debt. 30s are very critical to make sure you're doing the things that you should be doing. If you weren't disciplined in your 20s, you may find yourself with piles and piles of debt. Get out of debt. Find a way. That should be your number one priority, is making sure you're getting out of debt and having a budget in place to do that. That way you can know where your money's going, how much money you're putting on this debt so that you can get out of debt. Hopefully it's not consumer debt, but in most cases it is. Credit cards have been run up, trying to do things that you can't afford to do. And here you are in your 30s with loads and loads of debt. Now, if you're in your 30s and you're doing great with your investments, ramp it up. If you've been putting $100 a month in, try putting $200, $300, $400, $500 a month in. You should be looking at the 401ks or retirement accounts that you can start putting money in. If you haven't started in your late 20s, you can start dropping money in there and letting that money work for you, as well as having your own investments in other places. I would say that. Also, it would be a good time in your 30s, mid to late 30s, or even early 30s, to start looking at assets. If you want to buy some real estate, some properties that's going to bring you some monthly income in, now would be a good time to do that. You can finance those for 15 years. By 45, you're free and clear of those houses, and you're getting in all the money except for taxes and repairs and insurance. So it would be a great time to have additional income when you get to your 40s coming in if you do the right thing in your 30s. So 30s are very critical. Your income, like I said, should be going up. You should be pressing in and going up as much as possible, focusing on, getting that next promotion or whatever it is that you want to do. If you have your own business, if you're in a trade, if you're a plumber, electrician, and you want to start your own business, do that. But ramp up, get some people up under you working, ramp that business up so you can have more money to put away to invest in your 30s, because it will help you when you get to your 40s. One other thing you want to do also in your 30s is to make sure you have protection over your assets in the form of insurance. Start looking at insurance or get life insurance, health insurance, disability insurance, all those insurances that you think that you may need, because you want to protect what you've built. And especially if you have a family, you want to protect the family. If something were to happen to you, you want to make sure that they're well cared for, well taken care of if something were to happen to you. So this is something that you need to do specifically in your 30s, specifically if you have a family. Whatever age you are, hit that like button and that subscribe button so that you can stay up to date on the latest information as I'm bringing it to you. 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, I don't care what age you are. Hit that like button and share this out. This is very important for our youth. They need to know how to handle money in your 20s, 30s, and 40s. Now, you have moved to your 40s. What a great time to be 40 years old, 45 years old, wherever you are in your 40s. What you can do in your 40s is learn from what you didn't do and what you did do in your 30s. 40s is a great time to review and rebalance. If there's some things you need to do differently, if there's some money you need to move around differently, you can do that in your 40s. And then you can also start planning in your 40s for your exit strategy, whether it's going to be in your 50s or whether it's going to be in your 60s. Make sure you have an exit strategy. There are calculators, you all, online that you can put the money that you have saved in your 401k or other investments and put an interest rate on it and how many years out to see how that money is going to function. And then you can also put in there how much more money you need to put in to make you hit the number that you want to before you walk away from that job and actually retire, or before you walk away from the job and actually do something else. So that's a great time for that. If you did invest in real estate in your 30s, in your 40s, you could have it paid off if you took out a 10-year, 15-year loan on it, mortgage on it. It could be paid off in your 40s. And so you would have that money coming in. It's about doing the right thing. But this does get easier, you all, because you're already in the habit of putting money away and not living off that money. You're already in the habit, hopefully, of lifestyle inflation not affecting you. As you get raises, you should not be spending all the raises on lifestyle inflation. I get a $200 raise. Oh, guess what? I'm going to go out and make a $200 monthly bill. That's not what we want to do. You can spend a little of that money, go out and have a good dinner or whatever. You can spend a little bit of that money, but it's a good idea to put half, if not 75%, in savings and investment. You will thank yourself later. And, have the extra 25% to do something else with. But don't let 100% of your raise go to lifestyle inflation. Just because you get $200 more a month, you don't go out and find a bill or something that you would spend that $200 more a month on. So you should be, making sure the bills and the debts going down so you can have that gap, that extra money to do something else with. Buy things in cash. If you want to, save up and buy things in cash. But in your 40s, it's critical because this is a time where you're going to go down one road or the other. Either you're going to be working a lot longer than what you thought you were, or you're going to be right where you want to be. But take a look at what you've done so far. Go calculate it out to when you want to actually retire so that you can either hit that number or put more money in so that you can hit that number. You will have confidence that you will hit that number in your 40s. Now, I know what some of you all are saying. Adrian, I didn't start in my 20s, I didn't start in my 30s, and I may not have started in my 40s, and now I'm in my 50s. Is there anything that I can do? And I will tell you that it's never too late to start. Now, you may not get to the number that you wanted to get to, but you can be much better off if you start now putting money away in investment accounts. If you start now putting money away in high yielding savings accounts, rather than not doing anything at all, because not doing anything at all is not a good strategy. You will have at least some money saved away. If you get your debt down, that'll be great to get the debt down as low as possible. Totally paid off will be great because when you do retire, you won't have all these extra bills on you that you have to have money to pay. So the amount that you would have to actually live off of would be smaller than you would have to if you had those bills still on you. So still there's some things that you can do to help you. And plus, you may not be able to retire at 60 or 65. You may have to wait a little bit longer, but there's still hope for those that if you didn't start in your 20s, 30s, and 40s, you can still make some type of gain weight in your 50s. So don't give up hope. There's always hope for you when it comes to retirement. Hopefully Social Security will still be around, so that can be of some help to you also. I'm of the opinion that if Social Security is here or not, I want to make sure that my financial future is solid. So I did some things early on to make sure. Personally, I did start investing in my 401k in my 20s and then got into the stock market deeper in my 40s, right? Got into real estate in my 40s, right? So there's some things that I did, but I was stocking money in the 20s and 30s in my 401k like nobody's business. And so there's some things that I did right. And you know what? I didn't miss the money. I got used to it not being in my paycheck because it was automatic. I never saw it. It just came out and I saw the statement at the end of the year, at the beginning of the year. I could check it anytime to see how that money was doing. And I was not as astute to money as I am now, but I knew enough to go ahead and invest in that 401k. And I had a number in mind before I left that company that I wanted to hit. And I hit that number. Even though the later I got in age, I had to start stocking more money in the 401k. I was able to hit that number and leave when I wanted to leave. So there you have it. You know, it's not perfect. It's not a perfect science, but I can tell you for the 20-year-olds, if you're listening to me, if you start young at 20 and do what you can, you know, $50, $100 a month into an investment account, you will be much further along. Even if you stop at some point in the future, you will still be much further along because that money will keep compounding and turning over and multiplying and multiplying. And next thing you know, you'll have quite a bit of money ready for you, waiting on you for retirement. It's still your money. You don't put your hands on it, but it's still your money and it's waiting for you on retirement. So there you have it. So hopefully you have learned quite a bit in this video. Bring your, like I said, share this out to your children, your grandchildren, your nieces, your nephews, whoever you feel like needs to hear it, because this is some solid information that will help them become more financially free sooner. And with that, I will see you in the next video.